All right, let's dive in today. We're taking a deep dive into Neville Goddard's The Power of Awareness.
Ooh, a classic.
Yeah, and this one, it's all about how, like, our assumptions shape our reality.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just some fluffy self-help stuff, right?
No, not at all.
We're talking about some serious, like, fundamental principles of consciousness here that's constantly in play, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, totally.
So we've got some excerpts here from a couple of different YouTube audiobooks.
Oh, cool.
Both just, like, diving deep into Goddard's text.
Okay.
So get ready to, like, really have your mind bent a little bit.
I'm excited.
Because we're going to distill the key insights and make this dense but powerful book something you can actually use.
Awesome.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
What I find so fascinating about Goddard is that he doesn't just throw out these abstract ideas.
Yeah.
He grounds them in these really compelling analogies.
Exactly.
So, for example, one of the most, like, I think, powerful and, like, easiest to grasp is the idea of magnetism.
Oh. That's a good one, yeah.
I love a good analogy.
Makes things click into place.
Yeah, totally.
Right. So just think about how the arrangement of particles in a magnet determines how strong its field is, right?
Right.
Goddard says it's the same with our thoughts and assumptions.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're like these mental particles, and how we arrange them determines the reality we experience.
Okay, so if I'm constantly, like, assuming things are going to go wrong, I'm basically setting myself up for more negativity.
You got it.
Like having a weak magnet that's only attracting, like, more of the same.
Exactly. And this isn't about blaming yourself, by the way.
Right.
It's about recognizing the power we have.
Okay.
You know, Goddard says things like health, wealth, talent, these aren't things we lack, but things we're not magnetizing effectively through our mental state.
Interesting.
He even uses this example of, like, demagnetized metal. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Like, even when it's not acting like a magnet anymore, the electrons are still there.
Yeah.
They're just jumbled up. Yeah. So just imagine the potential within us if we can rearrange our assumptions.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
Right.
So, but how does this actually, like, work?
Yeah.
What's the mechanism by which our assumptions shape things?
So this is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Goddard says, what we assume to be true, even if it's not yet our physical reality, starts to influence our experiences.
Okay.
It's almost like programming a destination into your mental GPS.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, like, your thoughts, your actions, even seemingly random external events start to align with that destination.
That explains, like, those moments when you really want something.
Yeah.
And then it seems to, like, just happen.
Exactly.
It's almost like magic, you know?
It feels like that, yeah.
Are we, like, unknowingly willing things into being?
You are so right on track. And it gets even more powerful. Goddard emphasizes it's not enough to just intellectually understand an assumption.
Right.
You have to feel it as true.
Feel it. Okay.
This is where techniques like visualization come in, but the feeling is key.
So it's not just about picturing it,
Right.
but truly believing, feeling it.
Precisely.
Okay.
And Goddard shares some really compelling stories in the book to illustrate this. Like, for example, there's this soldier who desperately wanted to be discharged from the army. So he visualized himself back in his civilian clothes in his apartment. Yeah. And even though it seemed impossible at the time, events unfolded.
Oh, wow.
That led to his release.
Oh.
Or there's another story about this little boy who yearned for a puppy, but his family wouldn't allow it.
Okay.
So he visualized himself playing with the puppy, feeling its fur. And wouldn't you know it, he won a puppy in a citywide contest.
Oh, my gosh. Those stories are wild.
Right.
Okay. I have to admit, this is starting to make a lot of sense.
Good. I'm glad.
But there's one thing I'm finding a bit paradoxical.
Okay.
On the one hand, Goddard talks about, like, intense desire, focused attention.
Yeah.
But then he also mentions this effortless way.
Right.
Surrendering to the assumption.
It's interesting, yeah.
How do those two things work together?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of how this principle works.
Okay.
The effort lies in choosing the assumption. and holding that mental picture with clarity.
Okay.
But once you've done that, it's about letting go of forcing things and trusting the process.
So it's not about like obsessing over it 204/7.
Exactly.
Okay.
Goddard highlights the importance of mental stillness.
Okay.
It's about quieting the mind. Yeah. Entering a state he describes as like drowsy numbness.
Drowsy numbness.
Have you ever heard that phrase before?
It sounds familiar, but
okay.
Yeah, tell me more.
So it's similar to the state between sleep and wakefulness.
But
with conscious control. And this is where our assumptions have the most power to influence reality.
So you're kind of in this like in-between space, right?
You got it, between wakefulness and sleep, and that's where the magic happens.
That's fascinating.
I know, right?
Okay, this is all super intriguing, but how do we actually do this?
Yeah, good question.
Can you break it down for our listener into some concrete steps?
Absolutely. So Goddard outlines 3 key techniques.
Okay.
The first is you need intense desire.
Okay.
Not just like a fleeting want, but a deep yearning that fuels your actions.
Okay.
And then second is cultivate physical stillness. This could be through meditation.
Okay.
Or simply finding a quiet space where you can turn your attention inward and quiet that mental chatter.
Okay.
And finally, engage in vivid imagination.
Okay.
This is where you really bring in the senses.
Okay.
Not just seeing your desired outcome, but feeling it, hearing it, even smelling it.
So it's about creating this like immersive mental experience.
Exactly.
Almost like stepping into a movie.
Yes.
Of your desired reality.
Got it.
That's so cool.
Right.
And if we think back to those stories of the soldier and the boy, it all starts to like click into place.
It does.
They used vivid imagination to create a reality so real in their mind that it eventually became their physical experience.
I love those stories. They're so powerful.
Yeah, they're really inspiring.
They are.
This is powerful stuff, but I know it's not always easy.
Of course not.
What about when things don't seem to be working?
Right.
When our assumptions don't manifest and we hit roadblocks, does that mean the law is wrong?
That's where the concepts of faithlessness and perverseness come in.
Faithlessness and perverseness.
Yeah.
Okay, unpack those for us a little bit.
Yeah, so faithlessness in Goddard's context isn't about like religious faith, but about a lack of conviction in the power of your own assumptions. It's that nagging voice of doubt that whispers, this will never work. Or, who am I to think I can change things?
Ugh, that inner critic we all know and love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can be a major stumbling block because doubt creates a conflicting mental frequency. Weakening the magnetic pull of your desired reality.
So it's not just about like passively wishing for something.
No.
You have to actively cultivate a belief that it's possible, even if you don't see any evidence of it.
That's right.
In your current reality.
It's a choice.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And this is where the concept of feeling it real comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more vividly you can imagine and feel your desired outcome, the stronger your belief will become.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about perverseness?
Perverseness, yeah.
It sounds a bit ominous.
It does, doesn't it? Goddard uses this term to describe a kind of self-sabotaging behavior where we unconsciously undermine our own efforts to manifest our desires.
So it's like we're getting in our own way.
Exactly.
Even though we consciously want something.
It happens all the time.
Oh, wow.
It might manifest as procrastination, making excuses, or focusing on all the reasons why something won't work.
It's like that old saying, we are our own worst enemies.
Precisely.
Wow.
And Goddard suggests that perverseness often stems from a lack of self-worth. Or a belief that we don't deserve the things we desire.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
It suggests that our assumptions about ourselves can be just as influential as our assumptions about the external world.
Absolutely.
Wow.
If we subconsciously believe we're not worthy or deserving, it can create a powerful block to manifestation.
So how do we overcome this perverseness? It sounds like a pretty deep-seated issue.
It can be. But it's not insurmountable. Goddard emphasizes the importance of self-love and acceptance. He says we need to cultivate a belief in our own inherent worthiness and see ourselves as capable of achieving the things we desire.
So it's about shifting those limiting beliefs about ourselves.
Exactly.
Those negative self-talk patterns that tell us we're not good enough.
Yeah.
Or that we don't deserve good things.
Right.
Right.
And this can be a process, a journey of self-discovery and healing. Right. It might involve therapy, journaling, affirmations, or other practices that help you reprogram those negative thought patterns and cultivate a more positive self-image.
It sounds like this inner work, this cultivation of self-love and worthiness is really foundational to this whole process.
It is.
Of manifesting our desires.
Absolutely.
You're not just trying to change your circumstances. You're trying to transform yourself from the inside out.
That's the key.
That's really powerful.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this talk of assumptions and drowsy numbness and faithlessness and perverseness, what's one key takeaway you'd want them to remember?
I'd say don't get too hung up on the techniques.
Okay.
Or worry about doing everything perfectly.
Right.
The most important thing is to start cultivating awareness of your thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
And to choose assumptions that feel good, that are aligned with your desires.
It's about taking those baby steps, right?
Exactly.
Those small but consistent shifts in our thinking and feeling.
That's right.
And trusting that over time, those shifts will create ripple effects.
They will.
In our reality.
Yeah.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
And every step we take, every effort we make to align our inner world with our desired reality brings us closer to realizing our full potential as conscious creators.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's a perfect note to end this part of our deep dive on.
It is.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back in the next part.
I'm excited.
To delve into some of the deeper, more mystical aspects of Goddard's work.
Yes.
Including this concept of Christ in you.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And the promise.
Okay.
So stay tuned for part 2, where we'll unlock even more secrets
that's good.
of the power of awareness.
Can't wait.
All right. We'll see you then.
See you then. Welcome back to our deep dive into the power of awareness.
I have to admit, that phrase, drowsy numbness,
oh, yeah,
it really stuck with me from the last part.
It's a good word.
It sounds almost paradoxical. How can you be both drowsy and aware?
Right. It does sound a bit strange, doesn't it?
It does.
But Goddard describes it as the state of deep relaxation.
Okay.
Where the conscious mind is quiet, but the subconscious is highly receptive.
Okay.
It's similar to the feeling you might get just before falling asleep. Or just as you're waking up, that sort of hypnagogic state.
I know that feeling.
Right.
Yeah, you're not fully asleep, but you're not quite awake either.
Exactly.
Thoughts and images can be really vivid then.
Yeah, and Goddard suggests that we can actually cultivate this state at will.
Oh, wow.
He says it's in this drowsy numbness
that
our assumptions have the most power to penetrate the subconscious mind.
Interesting.
And influence our reality.
Okay, that makes sense. But how do you actually get to that state?
Right.
It's not like I can just snap my fingers and become drowsy on demand.
Well, there are various techniques.
Okay.
But they all center around quieting the conscious mind and relaxing the body.
Okay.
Goddard talks about finding a comfortable position.
Okay.
Closing your eyes.
Okay.
And focusing on your breath.
Okay.
As you breathe deeply and rhythmically,
right,
you release tension.
Yeah.
And allow your mind to settle.
So it's similar to meditation then?
Very much so.
Okay.
And this is where the conscious control part comes in. It's not about falling asleep.
Right.
It's about maintaining a level of awareness while your body and conscious mind relax.
Right.
Goddard even suggests counting your breaths.
Okay.
Or focusing on a specific word or phrase to help keep your mind from wandering.
So you're sort of in this liminal space, right?
Yeah.
Between the worlds of wakefulness and sleep.
You got it.
And that's where magic happens.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And in this state, you're more open to suggestions, more receptive to the impressions you're planting in your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Through your chosen assumptions.
This is all starting to feel very much like the techniques used in hypnosis, where the therapist guides you into this relaxed state before making suggestions.
You're absolutely right to make that connection.
Okay.
Goddard was very much influenced by the work of early hypnotists, and he believed that we could essentially hypnotize ourselves.
Wow.
Into believing our assumptions.
It's pretty empowering.
Yeah.
But if this drowsy numbness is so key, why doesn't Goddard talk about it more explicitly in the book?
Right.
It feels almost like a hidden key, something you have to read between the lines to discover.
That's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
It could be that he didn't want to overcomplicate things or make it seem too esoteric.
Right.
Or perhaps he wanted readers to focus first on understanding the basic principle of assumptions shaping reality before delving into the more subtle nuances of technique.
It's almost like he's leaving breadcrumbs.
I like that.
It's inviting the reader to go deeper, to explore the techniques and practices that can amplify the power of their assumptions.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And this is where the fun really begins, because there are so many different approaches you can experiment with.
Right.
Meditation, visualization, affirmations, even creative writing or art.
Wow.
All of these can be used to cultivate that drowsy numbness.
Okay.
And impress your desired reality upon your subconscious mind.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
No, not at all.
You can find what works best for you.
Exactly.
And your individual preferences and temperament.
Precisely. And that's the beauty of Goddard's work.
Yeah.
It's a framework, a set of principles that you can adapt and personalize to fit your own unique journey.
Okay, this deep dive into drowsy numbness has been really enlightening.
Good.
But let's shift gears a bit and talk about some of the practical challenges people often encounter when trying to apply these principles.
Right.
Goddard talks about the concepts of faithlessness and perverseness.
Yeah.
Can you unpack those a little bit for our listeners?
Of course. So faithlessness in Goddard's context isn't about religious faith. But about a lack of conviction in the power of your own assumptions. It's that nagging voice of doubt that whispers, this will never work. Or, who am I to think I can change things?
That inner critic, we all have it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it can be a major stumbling block.
Because doubt creates a conflicting mental frequency, weakening the magnetic pull of your desired reality.
So it's not just about passively wishing for something.
Well,
you have to actively cultivate a belief that it's possible.
Exactly.
Even if you don't see any evidence of it in your current reality.
You got it.
And this is where the concept of feeling it real comes in again.
It does, yeah.
Right.
The more vividly you can imagine and feel your desired outcome, the stronger your belief will become.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about perverseness?
Perverseness, yeah.
That sounds a bit ominous.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Goddard uses this term to describe a kind of self-sabotaging behavior.
Okay.
Where we unconsciously undermine our own efforts.
Oh, interesting.
To manifest our desire.
So it's like we're getting in our own way.
Exactly.
Even though we consciously want something.
It happens all the time.
Wow. So how does that happen?
It might manifest as procrastination.
Okay.
Making excuses.
Right. Or focusing on all the reasons why something won't work.
It's like that old saying,
yeah,
we are our own worst enemies.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Goddard suggests that perverseness often stems from a lack of self-worth.
Oh.
Or a belief that we don't deserve the things we desire.
That's a really insightful point.
Yeah.
It suggests that our assumptions about ourselves can be just as influential as our assumptions about the external world.
Absolutely.
Wow.
If we subconsciously believe we're not worthy or deserving, it can create a powerful block to manifestation.
So how do we overcome this perverseness?
Okay.
It sounds like a pretty deep-seated issue.
It can be, but it's not insurmountable.
Okay.
Goddard emphasizes the importance of self-love and acceptance.
Right.
He says that we need to cultivate a belief in our own inherent worthiness.
Okay.
And see ourselves as capable of achieving the things we desire.
So it's about shifting those limiting beliefs about ourselves.
Exactly.
Those negative self-talk patterns that tell us we're not good enough.
Yeah.
Or that we don't deserve good things.
Right. And this can be a process, a journey of self-discovery and healing.
Okay.
It might involve therapy, journaling, affirmations, or other practices that help you reprogram those negative thought patterns and cultivate a more positive self-image.
It sounds like this inner work, this cultivation of self-love and worthiness is really foundational to the whole process of manifesting our desires.
You're absolutely right.
You're not just trying to change your circumstances.
Right.
You're trying to transform yourself from the inside out.
That's the key.
That's really powerful.
Isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
So for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by all this talk of assumptions and drowsy numbness and faithlessness and perverseness, what's one key takeaway you'd want them to remember?
I would say this. Don't get too hung up on the techniques.
Okay.
Or worry about doing everything perfectly.
Right.
The most important thing is to start cultivating awareness of your thoughts and beliefs.
Okay.
And to choose assumptions that feel good.
Right.
That are aligned with your desires.
It's about taking those baby steps, making those small but consistent shifts in our thinking and feeling, and trusting that over time, those shifts will create ripple effects in our reality.
They will.
It's a journey, not a destination.
Exactly.
And every step we take, every effort we make to align our inner world with our desired reality brings us closer to realizing our full potential as conscious creators.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's a perfect note to end this part of our deep dive on.
It is.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back in the next part to delve into the deeper, more mystical aspects of Goddard's work.
Yes.
Including the concept of Christ in you.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And the promise.
Okay.
So stay tuned for part 3, where we'll unlock even more secrets of the power of awareness.
Sounds good.
All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
Glad to be here.
We're wrapping up our exploration of the power of awareness. And, as promised, we're going deep into some of the more, mystical, profound elements of Goddard's work.
I love this part.
It's fascinating, right?
Yeah.
How he blends the practical with the spiritual. He doesn't shy away from these, big questions.
And how he does it.
About our nature and our potential and all that.
Exactly.
So, we've talked about assumptions and techniques, even that drowsy numbness state.
Yeah.
But now I'm really curious about this idea of Christ in you.
Okay.
That he keeps mentioning.
Right.
What's he actually getting at with that?
It's not about religious dogma, that's for sure.
Okay.
Goddard uses Christ symbolically to represent the infinite creative power within each of us.
So it's more about tapping into our own, divine spark?
Exactly.
Our connection to, the source of creation?
I love that, yeah. He equates Christ with our imagination, which, remember, to him, our reality is a mental construction.
Right.
So if our imagination is shaping reality... It's not a far leap to see it as a divine power within us.
That's a pretty radical reinterpretation.
It is.
Right. It means we all have this potential to create miracles, manifest our desires, transform our reality, all through the power of our own minds.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
It's pretty wild.
And he even uses those biblical quotes to support this idea.
Yeah, he is in the world and the world was made by him and the world knew him not.
Right.
And Goddard's point is that he isn't an external savior.
Right.
But the creative force within us.
Oh, wow.
That we often fail to recognize.
That really changes how you read that verse.
It does.
Yeah.
It's not about worshiping a figure outside ourselves.
Right.
But awakening to the power that's been there all along.
It's it's always been inside us.
Exactly.
It's so cool.
Yeah. And that's a core theme for Goddard.
Okay.
As awakening to our true nature. And he draws not just from Christianity, but from other spiritual traditions as well.
Interesting.
He talks about the I am of the Old Testament.
Right.
The concept of the word in the Gospel of John.
Okay.
Even ideas from Hinduism and Buddhism.
It's he's weaving this tapestry of wisdom from across cultures and time periods. And it's all pointing to this one idea.
Yeah.
We are fundamentally creators. Yeah, that's amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
And he calls this our divine inheritance.
Our divine inheritance.
It's not something we earn or deserve.
Yeah, okay.
It's simply part of who we are.
Wow.
We don't need an external savior.
Okay.
Because the power to transform our lives is within us.
Okay, so that's incredibly empowering.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
But with all this talk of power and potential, there's another concept Goddard brings up.
The promise.
The promise, yeah.
What's it all about?
So the promise is Goddard's term for the ultimate goal of human evolution.
Right.
To become fully conscious creators of our reality.
So it's not just about manifesting a new car or a better job.
No.
It's about aligning our individual reality with something larger, more meaningful.
Exactly.
That's kind of a big concept.
It is.
Yeah.
It's about moving from a state of unconscious creation,
okay,
where our fears and limiting beliefs shape our experience, to a state of conscious creation, where we deliberately choose the reality we want.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
But also kind of daunting.
It can be, yeah.
Like we're all on this epic quest
to
become masters of our own universe.
It's definitely a journey, and there will be bumps along the way.
Yeah.
But, Goddard reminds us that it's not about achieving some unattainable ideal of perfection.
Okay.
It's about embracing our humanity, our flaws. Our imperfections, because that's where our unique power and creativity lie.
So it's okay to stumble.
Yeah.
It's okay to make mistakes.
It is.
It's okay to have those moments of doubt and fear.
We all have them.
It's all part of the process.
It is.
Yeah. And this is where the concept of self-love comes in again, right?
It does.
Goddard emphasizes the importance of loving ourselves unconditionally.
Yes.
Accepting ourselves as we are, even as we strive to grow and evolve.
That's the key.
Because without that self-acceptance, without that foundation of love, it's hard to truly believe in our power to create positive change, both in our own lives and in the world around us.
Absolutely.
He says love is the greatest creative force in the universe.
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
The key to unlocking our full potential.
It is.
And he reminds us to savor the journey, appreciate every experience, the challenges and the triumphs alike.
Yeah.
Because it's all contributing.
To our expansion and our evolution.
To our expansion, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yay.
This deep dive has been quite a ride.
It has.
From practical techniques to, mind-bending spiritual concepts.
Oh, I know, right?
It's really challenged me to think differently.
Yeah.
About myself and my place in the world.
It's been a privilege to explore these ideas with you.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Neville Goddard was a true visionary.
She was.
And his work continues to inspire us.
Absolutely.
And challenge us.
To become more conscious creators of our reality.
Yeah, I love that.
As we wrap up here, I want to leave our listener with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I like it.
Goddard talks about our destiny being a series of ever-expanding states of awareness.
Yeah.
If you could choose any reality for yourself, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And what assumptions would you need to embrace to make that reality a possibility?
That's a beautiful question to ponder.
Yeah.
I hope our listener will take some time to really envision their ideal reality and then start identifying the beliefs and assumptions that would support its manifestation.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
But ultimately, the journey begins within each of us.
It does.
The power of awareness is a reminder that we are not just passive observers in our lives, but active participants, creators of our own experience.
So well said.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration.
Yeah, this has been fun.
May you always remember the power that lies within you to shape your reality and create a life that is truly fulfilling.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap on our deep dive into the power of awareness.
I enjoyed it.
We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.